Brain love really needs to be felt. Serve me on, don't make me feel on myself. Brain food, brain sleep, neurology health. Brain love on me. I need you to assess, diagnose, and treat. Reveal what's underneath some brain
All
love.
right,
Give me
guys.
justice.
Hey. It's another Sunday night, and it's time for another episode of the Brain Love Podcast. Are you ready to take the couch? Hey, guys, are you ready to take the couch? It's Sunday night again, and I'm doing my best to be here. I know I had a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm really trying to stay on top of things. And tonight we're going to talk about the 10 signs that you're in a codependent relationship. I'm going to define for you what is a codependent relationship. We'll go through that. But before we get into that, I would just like to say and give a shout out to some of my staff who went with me on a trip to Jamaica to provide free services for some of our brothers and sisters in Jamaica. Last year we were in Mo Bay, which is Montego Bay. This year we were in Ochos Rios and St. Anne, and we saw patients. Last year was very busy. We saw a lot of people in Mo Bay, and there were a lot of pathologies, a lot of serious illness. And this time we saw maybe 3 or 4 that had serious mental illness, and the others really just needed to process with a professional and talk. So, shout out to them. Dr. Jacqueline Small, who is a licensed physician assistant. She actually has her PhD in physician assistant medicine, if that's what you call it. So she's Dr. Jacqueline Small, psychiatric nurse practitioner Monica Brown. Um, One of our other nurse practitioners had to drop out because of a family situation. And Amanda Spring went along with us. One of the admin, another one couldn't go because of something going on. There's a lot happening right now in this world. So anyway, for the folks who went, the folks in Ochos Rios, they are grateful. We went to support Natalie Fong, who is the founder and CEO of Sunshine Women's Medical Center. So it was very cool. So, anyhow, guys, let's jump into tonight's episode. We are talking about codependent relationships. And you see here, scrolling across the bottom, if you're watching this podcast, as opposed to listening to it, how you can follow the podcast, which platform. So, a codependent relationship happens when there's a power imbalance between two people. So, there is a power imbalance between two people. That's when you get a codependent relationship. There are many types of relationships and kinds of love. And so you really have to understand the person you're with. You have to understand what works for one couple may not work for another couple. Ideally, relationships work best when the needs of all partners are met in a balanced way. So, as I said, in a codependent relationship, there is or an imbalance, I should say, of power. Often one person may give much more time, energy, and focus to the other person who consciously or unconsciously takes advantage of the situation in order to maximize their needs and their desires. So sometimes, or a lot of times, this happens when someone has an addiction, like a substance use disorder. But you can have a codependent relationship with anyone, not just a romantic relationship or a personal relationship, but also your friends, your colleagues, your family members, your boss, right? Because that is a relationship. Whatever you're doing with your boss or your supervisor, that's a relationship. So all relations are based on a philosophy that if it works for you, it works for me. But according to Dr. Derrick, quote, but taken to an extreme, it can be that without the relationship, people can't function very well. So the relationship becomes unhealthy, close quote. So you want to be careful of that. What are some signs of a codependent relationship? So it can be hard to identify when you're in the middle of it. Oh, let's go through some of these signs. There are notable signs to watch for, and many of them involve various forms of self sacrifice and neglect. So, in a codependent relationship, one of the partners takes on the role of being a caretaker. Sometimes the relationship feels very one-sided. And it's one-sided because you have taken on this role of taking care of the other person, not allowing the other person to exude their own power, to take care of themselves, to make decisions. And sometimes that partner plays into it. So if you're the caretaker, there's an excessive sense of responsibility for the other person's behaviors and their actions. Another sign that you're in a codependent relationship is you want to change who they are. No one is perfect, but there's a difference between having a small hang up about a person versus fundamental differences in character and beliefs. So, you want to be sure that you're selecting someone who is in line with most of what you believe in. You can't change a person who's unwilling to change. But if you're in this relationship and you're steadily trying to change who they are, this may mean you're in a codependent relationship. If it's hard for you to explain how you feel about the relationship, that may mean you're in a codependent relationship because you can't define what you have. It's hard for you to say what the attributes are of your partner. You can't explain or describe the relationship. And it's because you're so focused on the other person that you're not spending time processing your own feelings or emotions. So you might be avoiding your own problems or feelings and replacing them with the high that comes from satisfying your partner, always taking care of your partner. Like I said, being a caretaker. If you don't practice self-care because you're always being a caretaker for the other person, you can't tear yourself away. You have to be around that person. You have to see what they're doing. You find it difficult to be motivated to do the things that you typically love to do. And this is because you're taking care of the other partner. It feels wrong to you to be without them. It feels off for you to do the things you love to do before you met them. To do these things now, it doesn't feel right to you. You have to spend time outside of your comfort zone without relying on their presence. That's self-care. If you always have to be around the person, you guys are in a codependent relationship. When you don't hear from the person, you feel anxious. So you stress out whether or not someone has their text message, read message on. You check your phone every few minutes to see if they have reached out to you. You find yourself creating scenarios of why you haven't heard from them. You're constantly looking to see if they're trying to reach you. That means you are probably in a codependent relationship. So let's review. I just mentioned you feel anxious when you don't hear from them. It's difficult for you to explain the relationship because, when you're taking care of someone else, you're being their caretaker. That may feel like you're their mama or maybe their big sister. You don't exercise self-care, right? So you're not taking care of yourself. You want to change who they are. You feel like you have to save them from themselves. That kind of goes with changing who they are. So those are what? That was 5. You want to change who they are. You feel like you have to save them. You don't practice self-care. You can't express or explain your relationship, and you feel anxious when you don't hear from them. That's 5. That's 50% of the signs. Now, here are some more signs that you may be in a codependent relationship. You have trouble being alone. You don't like to be alone. If you can't sit by yourself and be comfortable or at rest without feeling you need to reach out, you may be codependent. Sometimes it doesn't feel good to sit with your own thoughts because it's easier to pour your focus into another person. And this is why I tell you guys, have some me time, get to know yourself, get comfortable with being by yourself. Go to dinner by yourself, go to a movie by yourself, go hit balls at the golf range, at the driving range by yourself, go running by yourself, go exercise by yourself. Another sign that you're in a codependent relationship is that you routinely cancel plans to spend time with your partner. So, this is very similar to self care. You are canceling your plans to be with your partner because here they come last minute. You got plans to go with your homegirls, but here he comes talking about he wants you to go here or there. Or can you come over to do this or that? You might be carving out too much space for your partner if he wants to come along and bump your plans. Okay. And in doing that and saying that, the no self care, changing your plans last minute, routinely, your space cannot feel like it's your own. That's mentally as well as physically. So let's say in your home, maybe you share a home with him. If you redecorated or redesigned a space to fit only your partner's taste and you haven't done anything for yourself, you may be codependent. Feeling like you ask for too much. Are you hesitant to speak up for what you need because you're afraid of the outcome? Have you been told that you're too demanding even when you make the smallest requests? Are your attempts at fixing problems shut down before they begin? Communication, I tell you guys, is essential. Communication is essential. So if you are afraid to speak up or you hesitate, more than likely you're in a codependent relationship. How about they get angry when you try to set healthy boundaries? So you try to set healthy boundaries so you're not always saying yes. So they're not coming and bumping your plans. So you still get your me time. But when you set the boundaries, your partner's behavior escalates or it gets worse in spite of you trying to set the boundaries. This is definitely a flag that your needs take precedent should take precedent, but instead you're allowing their needs to trump your own. So this could lead to not liking the person, resenting the person. So you have to set the boundaries. Now, some people may be asking, can you save a codependent relationship? Before we go there, let's go back over the 10 again. When you set healthy boundaries, their behavior escalates. You feel like maybe you ask for too much. Your space isn't your own. You routinely cancel plans to spend time with your partner. You have trouble being alone. What goes with that is you feel anxious when you don't hear from them. You can't explain your relationship because you're too busy trying to be mama. You're too busy being a caretaker. You don't take time out for self care because it makes you feel selfish. You want to change who they are. You feel like you have to save them from themselves. Those are the 10 signs that you are likely in a codependent relationship. So, if this is happening, you should seek professional mental health counseling or mental health intervention. Go and see someone. They can identify if the scales are not balanced, and your family and friends probably know as well. You could ask them, what have they noticed about any changes in your behavior or signs? You could ask for signs that your relationship is a bit skewed and ask them to tell the truth. A lot of times family and friends won't tell us the truth because, especially if you're the type of person, when you hear the truth, you don't receive it. If you're one of those people where you don't receive, and then also, let's say it's the truth about your partner, and you're one of these people that'll go to the partner and tell the partner what the family said and what the friend said, which could actually create problems between your friend and your partner. If you're one of those types of people, then your family may not tell you what you need to hear. You should check in with yourself and re-examine your own value system. You should get to know yourself. You have to know what are your core values before you jump into a relationship. If you value honesty, then that should be a quality characteristic that you expect from the person you're dating. And you should emphasize this. In every relationship, you should make it known that this is what you value, because you can't assume that other people value the same things as you. You cannot assume that. You should make a list of your core values, the qualities you hold dear to yourself. And if these are your core values, you should not compromise on those core values. You could also make a timeline of your relationships. A lot of times people who are in codependent relationships, they are this way in different relationships over time. By journaling about your past relationships, you can see where the overlap exists. You can revisit some of the things that worked and the things that didn't work, and you can see if you have repeated patterns of behaviors in these past relationships. And also be able to set healthy boundaries. There's certain things if a guy does, if I'm dating a gentleman, there's certain things, if he does these things, I know right away I'm cutting him off. If he curses at me, um, let alone call me out of my name. But if he curses at me, yells at me, we're not going any further. When I was actively dating, if you yell or curse, we're not going any farther than what we've done. I'm like, okay, we're good. I really don't want to continue getting to know you at all. People who are moody, I cannot stand moody people. I cannot. You got to be consistently grounded in your emotions and how you display your emotions with the people you deal with. You shut down, or you make automatic assumptions about a situation, or you're quick or impulsive, you're moody. Those things are automatic cutoffs. I can't deal with it because I just don't process that way. So there are signs that we should leave. Some of what I just said may not be a sign for some of you. It may not be a showstopper. But if your relationship ever becomes dangerous or abusive, whether that's physical or verbal abuse, that should be a sign to you to end the relationship. If you need help in ending the relationship, seek immediate help, professional help. But you have to know what where your stopping zones are. You have to recognize that. You have to have that stuff predetermined before you try to date and go into these relationships. So when we do a lot of work around our own self-image, we have to think carefully about what's important to us in relationships and what we're willing to accept. How little are you willing to accept? Knowing yourself helps you to find a better response. So get to know yourself first. Don't be quick to rush into relationships. All right. So that's all I have for you tonight, guys. Those are the 10 signs that you're in a codependent relationship. I'm glad that you were able to join me tonight. And I have a treat coming up for you. It's called DRT Jack City. DRT Jack City. So you will love this. I will let you know when we do the premiere. It'll probably be sometime in January, and I hope you guys can join us. It it's a scene from New Jack City. So it's pretty dope. But anyway, I got to get out of here. Everyone have a great rest of the week. I appreciate all of you. Everyone say brain love. Say brain love, people. Yes.
For more brain support on the couch with board certified psychiatrist Dr. Delvina. Make sure you follow on Instagram at Dr. Delvina and at DRT Brain Love. Also, make sure you tune into the